param braje. In this age of Kali, which is an ocean of faults, there is one benediction. Simply chanting the holy names of Krishna, of Lord Hari, one can attain the supreme perfection of liberation. Nama Chintamani Krishna's Chaitanya Ras Vigraha. That Krishna is none different than the name. Nam Namakari Bahuda Nija Sarava Shaktis. All the potencies, all the powers, all the sweetness, all the beauty, all the love of Krishna is within the name. The supreme infinite love of Sri Radha is in her name, Hare. Kali Kale Namarupe Krishna Avatar. Krishna incarnates in his name in this age of Kali. Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. Therefore, it's the prime benediction for everyone. But the idea of kirtan is to please Krishna. So we could learn so many bhajans, and we could sing so beautifully, and we could study classical music, and we can sing like Gandharvas or Apsaras. And we could dance like Gandharvas and Apsaras. We could play instruments like Gandharvas or Apsaras. They are like supernatural devas. But the whole purpose is to please Krishna. If we're proud, I am great scholar, I am great singer, I am great pujari, I am great cook, I am great manager, I'm great orator. And that pride causes us to think I'm better than others, arrogance, and in doing so, we actually mistreat others. Then the whole purpose of what we're doing is lost. It's meant to please Krishna. Samsadir Haritosha. Trinadapi Sunichena Tarori Vaseshna. This type of humility, this type of forgiveness, this type of offering respect, that pleases Krishna. There's that beautiful story in Srirangam where there was that Brahmin, and he would sit in a courtyard of the Ranganath temple and recite the whole Bhagavad Gita every day, over 700 verses. And this was the high seat of learning for the whole of South India at this time. So all the great pundits and scholars, Vidyans, they'd all come there, and they would recite the Vedic hymns, and they would discuss with each other very profound Vedantic philosophies. And here's this person, this Brahmin, he was practically illiterate. And people would laugh at him. People would ridicule him. What are you doing here? It's like someone going to, a scholarly symposium at Harvard University, where the greatest scholars are on stage, and then somebody comes on stage and really doesn't know anything about anything. What do you think about it? What are you doing? What are you doing here? That's the way they, what are you doing here? But when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's Krishna himself, came, he didn't pay attention to all the great scholars. He went right to that man. And he saw he was crying. He said, please tell me, what are you reading? He said, I really don't know. Sometimes I say it right, sometimes I say it wrong. I don't really know. I'm illiterate. But my guru ordered me that I should come and sit right here every day and recite the entire 700 slokas of Bhagavad Gita. So I'm just trying to please my guru. Whatever people think of me, whatever they say about me, I'm just trying to do my seva. Then why are you crying? He said, because as I'm reading, I'm just seeing this beautiful form of Krishna, who has this wonderful dark complexion, who's so beautiful, who's driving a chariot for his own devotee Arjuna, and who's speaking Bhagavad Gita. I'm just seeing this beautiful form of Krishna, and my heart is melting. Lord Chaitanya lifted him up and embraced him. He said, you are the supreme authority of Bhagavad Gita, because you have understood the essence to please your Guru in such a humble spirit. And therefore Krishna is revealing himself to you. So certainly if we have the capacity to learn singing and learn speaking and learn cooking and learn managing and learning whatever, even giving donations, you can give 10 million rupees. And if it's given with love, Krishna will accept it. And if you give one little tulsi leaf with love, Krishna will accept it the same way. We give according to our capacity. So these Brahmins, they were so embarrassed. We are doing all these religious ceremonies, but we completely missed the opportunity to please Krishna. And our wives, they attained the absolute perfection of life. They are liberated souls now. They have prema bhakti now. All we have is all this knowledge and abilities, but we have no bhakti. We have nothing. They have nothing but bhakti. We have everything but bhakti. And then they started becoming very, very enthusiastic. They were saying, to hell with our rituals, to hell with our mantras, to hell with our tantras and our yantras and everything else. To hell with it all. We had the opportunity to serve Krishna and we didn't do it. Because we're so absorbed in doing the things to try to please Krishna that we forgot to please Krishna. So somebody said, well, why don't we just go and bring food to Krishna now? But what if Kamsa finds out and he will punish us? So they didn't go. Even they knew all this stuff, they still didn't go. The ladies, they had no fear. Bhajahure mana Sri Nanda Nandana abhayat sharanara bindare. When we take shelter of Krishna, then we are free of all fear. Fear personified is afraid of Krishna. And the fear in this world is a good thing if it helps us to take shelter of Krishna with our whole hearts. And when we do, we become fearless. But that person who gives fearlessness to anyone who takes shelter of him, he's afraid of Mother Yashoda. Yes? When Yashoda picks up a little stick, he runs away. And when she catches him, he's crying. He's crying, crying, crying. Please, please, please. This is love. Krishna is conquered by his devotee. Devotee is conquered by Krishna. So in this beautiful little narration that we're speaking today from this verse, we find the very essence of all knowledge encapsulated and revealed by the great acharyas in each and every one of these verses from Srimad Bhagavatam. Is there any questions?
Maharaj, Hare Krishna. Maharaj, I have a doubt that there are many devotees, like recently we have seen the passing away of Shyamdas Prabhu. Now, this devotee was completely committed to Krishna consciousness. And the passing was not so proper, means he could not, we don't know whether he could remember Krishna or that. Plus, we have recently seen our group of devotees, they left their body in Nepal. Well, these devotees have given their life, they have completely committed themselves in devotional service. That the passing is not so, it's not giving so much inspiration, or we don't know whether they were able to remember Krishna. Antakale Mame, Krishna makes it so clear that you have to, if you remember Krishna, you are going back home, back to Godhead. But these devotees, we don't know whether they could remember it or not. On the other hand, we see many of the materialistic people, they have never thought of Krishna. They have no Krishna consciousness. And some last moment of their life, some nice thing is happening, and they have such a wonderful passing out. And they could remember some nice Krishna conscious atmosphere comes up. And we see such a wonderful death. That person has not even thought of Krishna. That person has not at all having any clarity of Krishna consciousness also. That person is able to think of Krishna. And here are the devotees who are given their life. We don't know whether they have been able to remember Krishna or not. So sometimes doubt happens in our life. What is going on? And that perplexness is coming up. So my request is, Maharaj, can you just clarify it out into this?
Just to give some background to our guests, he's one of the top consultants in the Bombay Stock Exchange. So he's Ananda Vrindavan Prabhu. And he's very careful about where we should make our investments. And he's especially very concerned about the returns that we get from our investments. But bhakti does not operate on the same philosophy as the stock exchange. For great devotees like Shyam Das Ji and others, everything is auspicious because they've given their hearts and their lives in loving service. And Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita, where he explains that there's certain auspicious times to give up one's body and die, and there's certain times that are inauspicious. But for a devotee who surrenders to him, it's always auspicious. Krishna is there for his devotee. So we cannot, what a person is thinking at the time of death, the only way we can understand this is not by that moment of death. We can't necessarily see what's in their heart, but we can understand their life. If a person is always trying to please Krishna and serve Krishna throughout their life, Krishna promises, Manmana bhavamad bhakto madhya jimnam namaskuru mami vaishasi satyam te prati jani priyoshime. Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, offer your homage unto me. In this way, see? In this way you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my friend. This is Krishna's promise. So for a devotee who is earnestly, honestly, sincerely trying to remember Krishna, trying to serve Krishna, trying to be Krishna's devotee, chanting Krishna's name throughout their life, it is Krishna's promise he or she will come to me without fail. That's how we understand, not by our mundane vision. Yes? Somebody's totally materialistic and they say Krishna at the time of death. That's very nice, but they're not going to achieve the same destination as someone who's given their life, their soul, their heart, and everything. Huh? They will certainly get blessed. They may go to Krishna. So the second person you're talking about, who has a really nice, sweet passing, but has spent their lives in materialistic, selfish egoism, but they have a really nice passing and people come and chant Krishna for them. You don't know where they're going. They may go to Krishna because they're hearing Krishna's names, but you don't really know. But someone who's given their lives, whatever, whether it's in a plane crash, whether it's in a motorcycle crash, whether it's, from in a coma, whether it's from cancer, whether it's, drowning in the ocean, whatever it may be, we know for sure that Krishna's going to be with that person. Because Krishna assures, it's his promise. What on the material platform may seem inauspicious, it doesn't have relevance to one who's giving their hearts and souls to Krishna's loving service. Everything's auspicious. In one sense, it's some people, old age, slow, painful death, yes? And people are around chanting. That's nice. But in another instance, you don't have to, you're just in good health and back to Godhead. That's Godhead. It's beautiful. But it's pretty, it's how auspicious it is where you don't even have to go through that. With just one incident, poof, and all your karma's gone and you go back to Godhead. You just close your eyes and you open your eyes. So we see not through these little balls called eyes. We have to see through the eyes of the great saints, what they speak to us and what the scriptures tell us. Shamdas Ji is such a saintly person. He would perform wherever he was in the world. He would have his Srinathji Murti and he would perform puja for hours every day. No matter what. He would personally cook for his Thakurji. He would dress his Thakurji and bathe his Thakurji. Sing, offer puja. Learned all these beautiful arts of singing. Tens and thousands, if not hundreds and thousands of people were inspired through his beautiful kirtans all over the world. He resided at Govardhan. His mother's a state senator, extremely wealthy lady, and he's living in a little kutir at Govardhan. Yes? He's totally absorbed in Krishna, and he loved to serve everyone. He's willing to endure any kinds of difficulties to serve others, happily. So a person who's living that life, we know that Krishna, yegatamam prapadyante, Krishna reciprocates. Our faith is in Krishna's promises. Our faith is in the word of the acharyas. So Krishna's there. So it's, whatever the material form is, it's totally auspicious.
So Maharaj, the verse which is said in Bhagavad Gita, Antakale Chamamima, is for the outsiders. For a devotee, it is not at all meant?
Yes, it is for a devotee. Because if we don't understand that, we won't prepare. Antakale Chamameva Smaran Makva Kalevaram. Whatever you remember at the time of death, you will attain. If you would remember me at the time of death, you will attain me without fail. So we have to read that. It's not that somebody comes and tells you that verse at the time of death. We learn that verse now, today. And therefore we try to remember Krishna always, and we try to please Krishna always, and we try to serve Krishna always, because we know padam padam yadvi padam natesham, death could come any moment. So that verse is for everyone, including devotees. But what we should understand is the remembrance of Krishna at the time of death is not something that you can necessarily see with your eyes. That remembrance of Krishna at the time of death, the culmination of your desires, your aspirations, your longings in life are going to manifest as your last thought at the time of death. And if you give your life and your heart to Krishna, that is going to be your thought at the time of death. Krishna will reveal himself as that thought at the time of death. Sarvasya chaham hridishani vishto matasmidir jnanamupohanam cha vedaishcha sarvyaraham eva vedyo vedanta kritveda vedeva chaham. Krishna tells in the Gita, I am the source of remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. You cannot remember Krishna at the time of death unless Krishna reveals himself to you. It's not something mechanical. Even if somebody says, Krishna, in your ears, you may be thinking about the money you're losing. Yes? Somebody's saying, Krishna, in your ears. Certainly you're going to get benefit, but you may be thinking about, oh, I don't want to die, and I'm going to have to leave my husband or my wife, and I'm going to have my house. I haven't yet finished decorating my house. That's what's in your heart. Meanwhile, Krishna! So Krishna, sarvasya chaham hridishani vishnu. Krishna is the source of remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. And if we've pleased Krishna in our life, Krishna will be there to reveal himself as that last thought of remembering him at the time of death. And for a person who gives their life, we know for sure, because it's Krishna's promise, that he will be there for that devotee as that last thought. He will remember. Krishna will reveal himself so that devotee remembers. So the mechanical way of somebody who's in illusion, and it's some causeless mercy that somebody's there chanting Krishna in the name of, or even Hare Krishna. And that's wonderful. That's extraordinary. We should do that for everybody as far as possible. But for devotees, Krishna is going to be there in whatever situation. And they will remember Krishna. Does that answer your question? In your language, even if there's a total even if there's a total crash in the stock market, if they invest in bhakti, then they become multimillionaires. Haribol. Everything will be all right. Yes, Radhesham Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for such a very inspiring class, Maharaj. You said some two very interesting things. about the coward boys, why they wanted to eat the fruits. They were hungry for Krishna, and they wanted to glorify Balaram through this episode. This very attitude is so pleasing to hear about, and oftentimes, as you said, in the material world, the default attitude is that one always thinks about oneself selfishly. So, is it a script of the mind that makes people think more about themselves and less about Krishna or other devotees? Or is it an attitude problem? Is a problem of the heart? So I wanted to know the difference and how this attitude could be changed, because this attitude seems to be a very deep-rooted attitude of being selfish and not considering about others.
This ahankar, or the false ego, misconceives that I am this body, I am this mind, I am the controller, I am the proprietor, I am the enjoyer. And this basic premise of the ego, which is foundational to all material complications, it impels us to put ourselves above others and act selfishly. And then it becomes a habit. And according to how that we habituate ourselves by making those choices, we become more and more ingrained in that way of thinking. Just like the habits in this world. If you smoke a lot of cigarettes, you become addicted. And the more you smoke, the more you become addicted. And then it's very difficult to do anything without feeding your habit. It becomes a craving. I've been a guest at many Alcoholics Anonymous meetings. And people tell about people who are sober discuss what they did when they were addicted to alcohol or drugs. And the stories they tell are shocking. How they would steal, how they would abuse their children, how they would abuse their wives, how they would abuse their husbands, how they would abuse their friends, how they would... Everything was for their habit. Some of them, they discuss that they were literally monsters. They were demons. Their entire life was to beg, borrow, steal, kill, abuse, anything to feed my habit. And then when they became sober, they could actually understand what it had done. When you're in the middle of it, it's so tumultuous, you can't really understand the effect of what you're doing because you're so much a slave of the habit. So that's exactly the way the ego works. Our selfishness, our arrogance, our greed, our selfish passions, our anger, our envy. As we make choices to feed these habits, the habit becomes stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger, and it could get so strong that we can justify anything. But sadhu sanga, sarvasastra koi, lavamatra sadhu sanga, sarva siddhi hoy. When we associate with sadhus, with saintly people, then we begin to understand actually what I really want in life and what my condition is. And then we'll take the medicine and take the way of life by which we can become liberated from this. So each person has their own unique state of conditioning according to how they have fed their particular habits in their life and how they've aggravated it. So bhakti is the process of staying away from the bad habits and replacing them with good habits. It's a thing of the mind, it's a thing of the heart. Enechi asadi maya nashi baro lagi harinama mahamantra lao tumi magi. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu prayed, he gave this simple offering to everyone, that I have the medicine that will cure you of all the symptoms of this disease of ego and ignorance. This Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. But we have to take it we need the association of sadhus so that we understand how to take the medicine of the holy names. Lord Chaitanya not only gave the medicine, but he gave the prescription of how to take it. Trinada pisuni chena, tador ibase hishnana, amanina manadena kirtaniya sadhari. To be humble, to be tolerant, to be forgiving, to offer honor to others. Gopi bhautura padakamali das das. To actually have this mood of being the servant of the servant of the servant. If we are humble and respectful and we live with proper moral values and we deeply value service, then when we take the medicine of the holy name, it will free us from all of these addictions. It will liberate us from all of these sufferings. And it will awaken our true health, which is prema bhakti. Ecstatic love. Does that answer your question? I don't even remember your question. We'll have one more question. Yes, Sri Ramaji. Very enthusiastic.
Thank you, Maharaj. Maharaj, the story of the Yagic Brahmanas really always, wants us. I personally feel it is so wonderful to hear about how simply by hearing from the Brijbasi ladies, they really got so attached to Krishna. So, Maharaj, I personally request you to kindly tell all of us on what is the perfect way of hearing. We learn from these Brahmin wives that we can get this attachment. We have been hearing for last 2 decades or more from at Radha Gopinath temple. So much facility is available here to hear. Our temple is providing so much facility. How do we really do this intense hearing so that we can get attached? What are different components required for hearing? It would be really kind of you, Maharaj, to explain to us. For so many years we have been doing it, but
I've been waiting for this opportunity. We should improve our sound system. But on a more internal level. The Srimad Bhagavatam answers your question. Shushusho Shuddhadanasya Vasudeva Kata Ruchi Syan Mahat Sevaya Vipra Pundya Tirthana Sevanat. That simply by hearing about Vasudev, Krishna, Vasudeva Kata, when we develop a taste for hearing about Krishna, Srinvatam Sukata Krishna Punjas Ravanik, and Krishna cleanses all the anarthas, all the unwanted ego. He cleanses selfish lust and envy and anger and arrogance and greed and illusion. They are all cleansed from the heart by the pure sound of Krishna's philosophy, teachings, pastimes, names. But the Bhagavatam says in order to develop that taste for hearing, we must sincerely serve the great souls. We should be eager to hear and eager to serve. Our service attitude is what actually pleases Krishna. And then when we hear about Krishna, Krishna's actually there. If we make aparads, if we're envious, if we cause harm to others through our words or through our actions, even if we hear, Krishna's not pleased to reveal himself in that sound vibration. So the most important thing is our eagerness to hear and our eagerness to serve, to honor, to respect, to please. Every living being. We find among the great sages how they offer love and respect to everyone. Shivananda Sen was offering love and respect to the little dogs. Vasudeva the leper was offering love and respect to the worms that were eating his body away. In today's story, Krishna is offering so much love and respect to all the cows and the goats and the buffaloes. And he's offering quite a unique type of respect and honor to Dhenukasura, the ass. Yes. He's the well-wisher of everyone. So to the degree we actually become well-wisher with that eagerness to serve. Yes, Mataji had a question? Yes.
We know Krishna's heart is the softest, but sometimes we see he tortures his dear devotees like Radharani would make her so angry that she doesn't want to even talk to him. Then Krishna will do such things to pacify her. So can you explain why Krishna test her devotees and to put them in complete distress?
Such a nice question. Srimati Radharani, her anger is only to increase Krishna's pleasure. And Krishna makes her angry only to increase her pleasure. It's not material anger. Krishna makes Radharani angry so that she can perform a lila to show how he is totally subordinate and conquered by her love. Yes? When Krishna is angry at when Krishna invokes anger in Sri Radha, then Krishna comes and sheds tears on her feet and begs for her love, just to show the power of her love. So that's a very transcendental, ecstatic form of distress. Now, as far as us, We're put in distress because it gives us a sense of urgency. It gives us a sense of sincerity. It's like, I've told story when I'm flying on these airplanes and I'm chanting, I'm usually going Hare Krishna, like that. But when and there's these sirens going off in the plane and they say we're about to have an emergency landing, and we see underneath there's about 30 fire trucks and ambulances, and they say we're going to have an emergency landing because the control system of the whole airplane has blown up. And you hear babies crying, and you see the airline hostesses shivering in fear, and the pilot's trying to sound composed, and he's saying, emergency landing, everybody, put your heads down between your knees. I wasn't Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. It was the best chanting I ever did on an airplane. Yes, because sometimes emergencies and distress wake us up from our complacency. Because the tendency of human nature is we become complacent. We do our sadhana, but it's with complacency. The real sadhana is we're actually taking shelter. We're hungry. We're starving for mercy when we're doing we're giving our hearts. We have our full attention, our full focus, our complete concentration on accessing Krishna. And sometimes distress helps us. So it's a blessing.
Thanks. Can I ask another question? Sometimes we have to please everyone. If one non-devotee offer us vegetarian food, but it's not cooked in devotion to Krishna, can we accept and offer to Krishna? So at that moment, what prayer shall we chant to avoid contamination from this non-devotional mood?
What prayer should we?
For example,
according to how a person prepares food.
We don't know what mood they are preparing.
The consciousness of the person cooking is going to be the energy within the food. And from a spiritual perspective, it's not the vitamins in the food that make us spiritually advance. It's the energy in the food that nourishes us. And the bhakti that goes into the food is the energy that's going to nourish our hearts when we eat. Yes? High cholesterol may block the material arteries. But if food is cooked with anger or with greed or with pride, that's like cholesterols for our bhakti. Can block the flow of our bhakti from flowing. So one thing, when food is cooked with love and devotion, it has that energy that awakens our love and devotion. So as far as possible, we should eat food that is cooked with love and devotion to the Lord and offered with love and devotion to the Lord. And when that's not possible, then we should do the best we can under the particular circumstance.
So can we say, Krishna, we have no choice. We have to accept such food. So sometimes we are forced to take such a non-devotional food. So can we say we have no choice, Krishna, we have to accept. Please free us or protect us from the sinful reaction.
Are you from China?
Yeah, I'm from Shanghai, China.
Well, I'm proud of you. Chinese, everyone likes Chinese food. especially in India. It's amazing. I'm walking down the bank of the Ganga in Rishikesh and I see these restaurants with big signs, Chinese food. Sometimes I see sadhus and they're eating. Yes, you have seen? Radhe Shampoo? He doesn't eat there, but he has seen it. But in a situation like that, where there's not that many, ashrams and devotees to cook, then you have to honestly and sincerely try your best. That's pure vegetarian.
So,
It was actually Balaram that threw him on top of the tree. But as Balaram threw him on top, he whirled him around. And he actually became so dizzy he gave up his life. And then Krishna and Balaram, they liberated his soul. Can you imagine what his karma was? He was daily eating humans. What to speak of any other animal? Anything he could catch, he would eat. He was a murderer. He was cruel. Respect, isn't it? You and me, we may bow down to somebody and say, I am respecting you. But Krishna's giving them liberation in the spiritual world for their eternal soul. Because aham bija pratapita. Krishna sees everyone, even every species of life. Krishna's seeing that Atma as his own beloved child. And when he comes to this world, he comes to actually give the highest opportunities for everyone. So he respected the soul of Dhenuka to the highest degree by giving him entrance into the spiritual world. But you see, we can't do that with each other. We can't start throwing each other on tops of trees and saying, I am respecting you. Unless you have the power to liberate them forever from birth and death, better that you touch their feet rather than throw them on top of trees. And this way we can all be united in the chanting of the holy name.